The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily represent those of this station or its management.
It's time now for Where You Live with Gene Sullivan, the show that deals with the news and events that affect you the most. Whether you rent or own, live in an HOA, single-family home, or an apartment building, Gene will tackle the issues right where you live. So, from the True North Painting Studios, here's the original man of steel, Resolve himself, who stands for truth, justice, and the association way. Here's Gene Sullivan.
Welcome, everyone, to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, and I'm broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. When you're looking for the right painting contractor, what do you look for? Isn't it someone who will respect you, your time, your property, and your budget? That's what you can expect from True North Painting. Find out more about this exceptional company by going online at truenorthpainting.com. That's trunorthpainting.com, or give them a call at 952-831-1433. I'm also brought to you by the great folks at Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. Would like to also say hey to Christopher Wyatt Earp Huberty. How are you, Chris?
Good, Gene. How are you?
In the words of Lee Michaels, better than I deserve.
That's right.
Yes. And let me ask you, I was with our first story here. It's about a tree house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a boy, did you ever try building a tree house or building like a pine derby?
I did the Pinewood Derby cars as a Cub Scout. That turned out poorly, and I tried to do a tree house, and that turned out even worse.
Okay, was it safe anyway?
I didn't want to test it.
You didn't?
I didn't want to test it. I didn't want to try.
Well, I did both. I remember my biggest foray, and it was making a Pinewood car for racing, but not the little ones. One that you got to sit in. Ooh. And just go downhill and have gravity be your friend. Well, we were putting stuff together, and we didn't have a lot of money for parts. Mm-hmm. So across, not too far away from where we were, a couple blocks away, there was a building that had some old torn up wood that they had in their dumpster, and these big iron wheels that were used for like some sort of cart for hauling stuff in a warehouse. Mm-hmm. So since it was in the trash, we pulled it all out and we started building our car. And so think of it, we had these big, huge steel wheels, and this is we were lived on Medicine Lake as a boy, and this is when 169. Before 169 was built, it was just called County Road 18. Mm-hmm. And during this period of time, County Road 18 was just a two-lane road. 169 was being built right next to it. So people were still going on 18, which is now a service road. And in 169 was being built, they had these huge stretches, quarter mile or better, of hills going up and down. And so we thought this would be perfect. There isn't anybody on the road, and there isn't going to be for a number of months because they're still building it. Right. So we built our go-karts, and I built mine so that you had a rope in the front, axle that you could pull so that you could steer. Yeah. And but I also built a wheelie wheel in back so that it'd be really cool. I put some extra weight so I could lean back, and it would look like I was just going on the back two wheels. Yeah. And so we started the race. We're going down this long part on 169, and it's probably better than a quarter of a mile. And so we're going down. I go ahead, lean back to look cool and hot, and popping a wheelie. The only problem is I didn't take into consideration the distribution of weight. So once I got it popped up there, I couldn't bring the front down. Now, without bringing the front down, I couldn't steer the thing.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's a problem. And so, yes, my career as as an inventor ended after that episode.
At first, it looked cool though. It just couldn't.
It looked really cool.
Just couldn't get out of it.
Yes, but we're going to be talking about this first story. It's a tree house and was in the Star Tribune. So let's get right to it. That's our first story in Property Management in the News. Property Management in the News is brought to you by Home Furniture and Abbey Floor Coverings. Their showrooms are staffed with professionals who will help you choose what you need to fit both your lifestyle and budget. Whatever you need, chances are they'll have what you're looking for. If you wish to avail yourself of special pricing you're not going to find anywhere else, where you live, listeners, call Customer Service Coordinator Lori Matson at 952-224-2663. Just this last Friday here in the Star Tribune, a story in the around the metro section, Boy's Treehouse must come down. And when I saw it, I was compelled to read it because what boy doesn't want to have a treehouse? And what's interesting is the people in the city of Minneapolis said it's a very nice looking treehouse. It's a very sturdy treehouse. It just wasn't done correctly, and so it has to come down. And the reason why is because this treehouse became a controversy between two neighbors, and this is in the Lowry Hill neighborhood. What happened is, as the treehouse was being built, the neighbor finally made a complaint to the city of Minneapolis, who sent out a city inspector. And then, of course, this has been going on now for 2 years. And a lot of people initially say, boy, 2 years, that just seems like an awfully long time to deal with something. And I'm bringing this up because in HOAs, the same thing is true, too. People say, how come the board just can't tell the homeowners to do this? How come nothing ever seems to get done? How come the homeowner never seems to have to comply? And what I want to convey here through this story is that sometimes when you go through a democratic process, that process of deliberation is an important one to go through. And that's exactly what took place and why it took 2 years from the start to finish. Because it began with the neighbor filing a complaint. And just because someone files a complaint doesn't mean that someone comes by the treehouse police and tear it down the next day. No, they filed a complaint. Then the city sends out an inspector. After that, they tell them whether or not some codes may have been violated. Well, during that process, you can apply for a specific exemption to the code. And so that's what that homeowner did. He said, let me see if I can get an exemption to the code or concerns. And then the next step was to get a petition. So he started doing a petition drive in the neighborhood. I have one neighbor who doesn't like it, but maybe all the other neighbors are okay with it. And then after that, there's a formal appeal. And then after that, finally, a decision. And the decision took place just this last Thursday, and that's why we're hearing about it now. And the decision is that the treehouse had to either come down in its current state, or it could be built again, but just a little bit lower. And what is interesting is you read the story in the Tribune. The writer talks about the tearful final plea by the boy who was just emotional with tears in his eyes, saying, please let this treehouse stay. This is something I enjoy to play in. This is great for me. Please don't take this away from me. And that emotional tension, of course, was built by the writer to keep you interested in reading the story. But there's also something that I guess I'd like to point out, and that's sometimes in society we've gotten to a point where we put too much emphasis on feelings. Now, notice I said too much emphasis on feelings. It's not that feelings aren't important at all, but we live in a society today where people say, trust your feelings, or do what feels right. And of course, if all law that was created and statutes were a matter of whatever felt right, you can just imagine how arbitrary our laws would be. Our laws then would be a matter of whoever's the most emotional person would be the winner, the person who's able to get the law written the way they want it. Well, there's a reason why we have laws the way we do. There's a reason why there are ordinances in a city. There are governing covenants within a homeowners association. And you know what? We're going to talk about that, but we're going to take a break right now. So don't go away. You're listening to Where You Live on AM 1280 The Patriot. Back after these messages.